Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'll be showing how to assemble a pattern for what I guess we're calling a crinkle poet shirt. The pattern is available on my website in two sizes, big EID and other 65 to 70 centimeter dolls, and 1/4 scale dolls. To get the crinkly look, you want crinkle cotton fabric. As an aside, this video will probably look a little different from my usual because my DSLR camera is wearing out, and today I'm experimenting filming with a different camera. Hopefully it works out okay. I already know the light balance needs a little improvement, but hopefully it'll still be clear enough for you to see how all these pieces go together. We'll begin the assembly process with the sleeves. The edges of the sleeves should be turned into a rolled hem, folding the edge over once, then folding it over again. When this is sewn down, it'll give us a nice finished edge for our cuff openings, without having to sew a sleeve lap in small scale. Both sides of the sleeve should be turned, then they can be sewn. A regular straight stitch holds the side seams down, and we'll prepare the second sleeve the same way. I notice my camera vibrates a little too because it's connected to the table, so that's another thing I'll have to work on for future videos if I stick with this equipment for a bit. It's not quite as clear or smooth as what I usually get, but I guess it's not bad for a webcam. Editing this video is actually my first time seeing what the footage looks like, so I'm making notes. After both sleeves are sewn, we'll connect the cuffs to the flat end. You can see the sleeve will need to be gathered to fit, so I do the gathering with a hand needle and thread. After the sleeve is gathered, it's time to put the cuff on. The rolled hem should go to the inside. I know it's hard to see on black fabric, but this was the only color of crinkle cotton they had locally. The cuff and the sleeve should go together along the gathered edge, right sides together, and you actually want to fold the cuff around to the wrong side of the sleeve by 1/4 inch on either side. This will make it much easier to hem the cuff later on. Pin it in place, even out the gathers, and then sew on the cuff. This is easier if you sew with the gathered side on top so you can keep it nice and evenly distributed. After it's sewn on, when you pull the cuff straight, it'll automatically fold the ends to the inside because of how we folded them around the end of the sleeve. See how easy that is? To finish the cuff, you'll want to turn the other edge to the inside too. I like to fold that top edge in by 1/4 inch and then fold the sides. so that the side seam where the opening will be stays very tidy. Once the edges are folded, the cuff can be folded in half, so the raw edge of the gathers will be kind of sandwiched between the layers of folded fabric. Take your time with folding and pinning the edges to be sure you're happy with the placement and that your sleeve is even. I'll prepare the other sleeve the same way before finishing the cuffs. You can definitely sew the cuffs shut by machine if you want, but I prefer to finish by hand so there are no visible stitches. I do this by sewing the edges together with a hidden stitch, going back and forth between the two pieces of fabric. Sewing the inside edge of the cuff to the line of stitches where it was originally attached by machine also helps ensure there won't be any stitches visible on the top. Nice and clean. Make sure both cuffs are sewn and then we can move on to the body. Construction of the body starts by putting the back and front pieces together at the shoulder with the right sides together. Pin if you need to, then sew the shoulder seam, backstitching at the beginning and end to make sure it won't pull apart when you're connecting the sleeves or collar. After these seams are sewn, you can finish the edge with a zigzag stitch to prevent fraying. I like to trim threads as I go along. Next, we'll finish the front opening of the shirt by creating rolled hem, like we did on the sleeves. Fold the edge to the inside by about 1/4 inch, then fold again and pin in place for our rolled hem. Do this for both front pieces. After they're all rolled and pinned, you can sew it down with a regular straight stitch. I kinda like how the video looks when it gets really bright, even though the white of the sewing machine ends up a little washed out. I don't know, what do you think? I feel like it's easier to see. Next up is the collar. Originally I was going to show you my favorite way to do them for this shirt, which involves sewing the ends of the collar together and then pinning and sewing it to the shirt. From there it can easily be pulled up so the top edge can be sewn and you don't have to do any weird folding around edges or corners. It's so fast and easy that because I was paying attention to the podcast I was listening to and not what I was doing, that I totally messed it up and accidentally ended up sewing it on wrong side out. It happens. It happens to the best of us and also to me. So the method I was going to do didn't work and I ended up having to pick the side seams for the collar out so I could attach it the more traditional way. where you would connect one side of the collar to the right side of the shirt, then put the other piece against the right side of that collar piece, sew them together, trim the corners, and flip it right side out. I considered taking everything apart to redo this part of the video, but after some feedback from friends, I decided to leave my mistake and how I solved it in the video. I think it can be really reassuring for people to know that no matter how long you've been sewing, no matter how many things you've made, you're still gonna mess up sometimes. It's just a fact of life. Almost every sewing mistake can be fixed. It just takes some time and patience and sometimes a little ingenuity. For this, the more traditional collar construction and attachment just means that instead of an easy way of connecting it, I'll have to turn the bottom edge of the collar to the inside and then sew it with a hidden stitch along the inside edge, like what was done with the sleeve cuffs. That part takes a bit, but once I have it done, you'd never know that I originally put it on wrong and had to think up something else. With the collar done, now the sleeves can go in. The sleeves should be pinned into the curve of the arm side or armhole, with the right side of the sleeve against the right side of the shirt body. I like to begin at the ends and then even out the curves along each other. Since the fabric is crinkly, it can stretch a little, so this seam is very forgiving. Sew the sleeve into the armhole. Make sure to keep the fabric underneath moving smoothly so nothing accidentally gets stitched into this seam. Make sure it's nice and smooth, then connect the other sleeve the same way. After the sleeves are in, you can finish the edges with a zigzag stitch. With the sleeves connected, we can finish them by closing the bottom of the sleeve and the side of the shirt with one seam. We want to leave a space for the cuff to be unfastened so the sleeve can fit over a doll's hand. So I plan to stop about 1.5 inches away from the edge of the cuff. I put 2 pins there to mark the spot, and I compare the sleeves to make sure the opening will be the same on both sides. Then you can pin the bottom of the sleeve and the side of the shirt closed and sew it shut, beginning at the bottom edge of the shirt's side. We'll sew up to the point where the sleeve connects, then turn and sew down the sleeve to the double pins, where you'll want to turn the garment and sew off the edge of the fabric. Backstitch there to create a sturdy opening slit for the sleeve. Repeat that process on the other side of the shirt. After both sides are sewn, the sides can be finished with a zigzag stitch. Since the sleeves have a rolled hem, there's no need to zigzag those, but you can if you want. The last thing to sew is the hem on the bottom edge of the shirt. We'll create a rolled hem here too, folding once and then folding again. I like to fold the front pieces first, so my front corners remain nice and square, then smooth things out across the middle of the back. It should be easy to get a nice straight seam, since the crinkly fabric is pretty forgiving and flexible. Sew the bottom hem and you're ready to add closures of your choice. I decided to use snaps, but it took me days to get them all attached, so I didn't record the process. If you don't want snaps on the sleeves or front opening though, you could also use buttons and buttonholes, or a hook and eye closure, whatever you prefer. And then your shirt is done. That's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.